Of all the women in finance commitments towards gender diversity in the financial sector, there's one where the most urgent attention is needed. Anticipating the company of tomorrow, hence the importance of our last panel on preparing for the future, from reaching out to the younger generations to ensuring a smooth transition to the top. I invite Mohammed on stage, Director in BNI Mellon's Digital Assets Unit, who will be moderating this debate on how we can move forward. Voilà. Next, I would also like to invite on stage Rebecca, the CEO of March Belux. In addition, she also acts as a Senior Relationship Officer for top clients. Charlotte, you are also invited on stage. She's the Director of Financial Expertise and Derogations for Private Business and Retail Banking at Belfius. And then we have Marie. You are also invited on stage. Marie is the Head of Finance and Legal at Wecasa, a French startup which was founded in 2016 and supported by several private equity funds. And last but not least, Dr. Katarina, you are also invited on stage. She's a senior fund manager at DWS, founder of DWS Invest ESG Women for Women Fund. One of them is working.
Hello.
Yeah, voilà.
Well, thank you today for having us. I think we already have a great number of panels already. I know when we are at the very last one, and especially if there are drinks outside, everybody's eager to probably leave, or hopefully not, because we prepared actually a fantastic panel, especially in the prep, and as we were talking before. I mean, there's just so much today to be covered. We've heard already a lot. I hope with the spin of the diverse panels we have, especially if based on their experiences, you will find something valuable, especially in an important topic, which is about a transition to the next generation. The start, I guess, I want to take this panel in a couple of ways, but there are a few takeaways to be covered today. Really, at the beginning, a little bit more about on the challenge, just on a different spin, then a couple of testimonies, and then importantly, what should be done and how can we ensure that the next generation doesn't face what we currently face. So maybe the starting point, and I'll start with you, Rebecca, and thanks for being here and nice to meet you in person. Earlier, we've heard from the Prime Minister talking about a while back, finance was all about boys' club, but things has been progressing. In fact, with Marsh, at least in your case, you've actually flipped that equation to have even more women in the company than male. I guess that deserves a clap in itself. So I'm just wondering, what is the secret sauce for you that you've worked out to eventually hire, retain, and progress women?
Your microphone. So actually, first of all credits to my previous CEO and my HR director who is in the room. Hi, Yannick. I actually rejoined Marsh in 2017, and it was mainly one of the reasons why I chose Marsh over any other employer, because even at that time, Marsh Belux was second ranked in international. And international is our region where more than 40 countries of Marsh worldwide are in. So it was actually quite embedded, and I was very proud of that. And again, that was actually the reason why I came back. And then in end of 2020, I became CEO. And again, I became the living example of it can actually happen. And I do realize how lucky I was to get into a company where talent management was also established, where you got the opportunities. And that is why today I'm very proud that we are still there, that we are delivering on all of what we have established in the past, that it has become a given. At Marsh today, we are no longer thinking in terms of gender. It's like, well, it's obvious. And our biggest challenge now is to go beyond it, obviously. And I think it also comes with the business we are in. So we are risk advisors, and we are actually also transitioning from a classical insurance broker to a risk advisor. And well, many of you might be in risk, and risk is fast evolving, and risk doesn't stop. Risk doesn't know boundaries, and so shouldn't we. And when we deal with a client in an international environment, we are always looking to advise and put the best in front of the client. So within Marsh, we have extraordinary resources worldwide, and I think that has become the way we think and the way that we do business, and also the way we engage with colleagues. It's about the best in front. Also today, when we have vacancies, we make sure we have equal talent in terms of gender in the pipeline, but it will always be the best in front that gets the job. For the moment, these are women, but it can indeed, again, flip, and it can become men. So, again, we do not think in terms of gender, no more, I would say. We think in terms of, and I heard it earlier today, it's comparative assessment.
Thank you. I love that, and hopefully every single company will arrive there, and we'll hear more about that later. So maybe just moving to you, Katerina. So there's already a lot of good progress has been mentioned earlier, and also Rebecca just mentioned. By your case, you've chosen to look at, there are other areas need to be covered, and specifically from your role as in DWS, where you've chosen to bring a fund out there, managed by women, for women, to encourage them eventually about investments. So when it comes to things in women finance, so it's beyond just hiring, it's really also about multiple areas in finance, and that's investment. I wonder, why did you choose to go this route? And then what have you been your experiencing there, and how are you enabled then to make that impact on bringing the maybe gender gap a bit lower to where it is?
Can you hear me? Okay. Thank you very much. By the way, it's not my picture. It's my colleague. I appreciate her very much. It's Valerie Schuler. She also helped me a lot to bring this fund to life. Yes, last year, for the whole year, we were working on this idea to encourage women to invest more. This idea is really an old one. For the first time, I brought it about 10 years ago. And 10 years ago, we already discovered that women are half of our population, but they're poor one. Yeah, it's very poor, because this 50% of population hold only 30% of world wealth. So, and actually, in order to close the gap, because the gap is getting bigger as women are getting older, and the provision gap is really big, about 50% in comparison to men, they actually need to do something. They have to invest. And even so, women save money regularly, 80% do, but only 1 of 8 really invest in equity markets. And this is surely the question why they do this, because the correlation between if you're poor and you really don't want to lose anything is quite high. But there are different aspects to this as well. So women are different ones. So we have to find a way or a product which is tailored for women's needs. And they think differently. So they may be risk averse, for sure, but also what we discovered that women are really social species, and women want to make an impact. You know that women donate more often than men, and do care about others, and they're really here to their peers. And peers, I mean, their age, the women of the same age, they listen to what to buy, to what services to follow, and it's really big impact. And in the center of our fund, we put social aspects, because we said, you know what, everyone is caring so much about the environment, which is also important for us, but there will be no equilibrium in this world if we are not thinking about human being, and we have to put it in the center. And we think this is the way how we will go away from crisis, from wars. That we have to be, on the corporate level, much more aware of the human being. In our fund, we really give the grace for all companies in terms of social aspects. And it's not only about working conditions. Working conditions is just a small part of it. We heard about the technology sector. Working conditions just fine there. But if you go into the diversity, then we see that technology is one of the worst ones. And this is what we put. We put diversity with a higher weight. And we are going with the companies which live their best in class, and with those companies which are improving. And what we are doing differently, we have a leverage. And being a fund manager and analyst, I have a privilege to talk to CEOs and CFOs of this world, and they listen to us. Because no one wants to be a bad company. And we have this leverage. We talk to them for years about the environment. And now, for women, much, much easier to talk about social aspects. And we use this leverage to make the world a better place. And it's not only this, because we want to make women richer. I mean, there are volatile markets, for sure, right now. But in the longer term, we're saying we are bringing it to our heart and our expertise. We're combining both. We're doing social plus returns.
Thank you. Social and richer, I'll pick on that later. So just coming back to the behavior angle, and I guess it's already been mentioned a couple of times, and Rebecca alluded earlier to it around risk. And just asking you, Marie, there's this perception around women at times don't necessarily, are more conservative in terms to jumping into risk or even opportunities, as been mentioned earlier. But in your case, you've left kind of the institutional side of things to move to a startup, which perceived normally more risky. So give me a bit of flavor in there, one, about how is the diversity angle within startup? Are we building, it's a kind of new world, but are we replicating the same, that same kind of problems we had prior with this new kind of word between brackets or emerging? And two, what are the things happening to change that if there's any diversity gap you are seeing?
So maybe thank you, and thank you for being here as well. I'm also very pleased. On the risk aspect, I would say, yes, it's true. But at a personal level, and it's a personal question as well, I was always challenged by a fast-moving environment where I also believe that I could have an impact. And I really much believe that what you said is super true. As part of my startup, I'm not only CFO for financial topics, but I'm also making sure that I actually maximize the value which is created for all stakeholders. And the funds which invested in my startup are mainly impact funds. They have a clear mandate on that. And I'm really making sure that I maximize all the KPIs, including the environmental ones and the social ones. So indeed, it's risky in the way, but I think it's worth to take that risk because I'm creating value also in what I'm doing. So in that aspect, I believe women can also take risk if it's meaningful for them to take that path. On the gender gap that you were mentioning, I believe it's still very true in the startup world as well. I've read through the stats, actually, and I've seen that 20% of the startups which have at least one founder, which is a female, are raising funds. So it means that 80% of the rest is just men only. It's not the case for my startup. That's also probably why I chose this one. There is a 50-50 share in the management committee. But I'm also the only woman attending the board currently. So there are these things that need to move. Actually, preparing the discussion, I had the discussion with my founder. We said, oh, actually, we should find a spot for you in the longer term. So thank you for that as well. And things are moving. And in the funds as well, when I was an intern back in a few years ago in investment banks, there were really a small amount of women. Now it's changing in VC. I see women being involved in ESG topics, operational excellence, etc. And what I heard from all of you, actually making sure that there is a spot to take for promising women, I think that's really the way to go, and also creating a supportive environment where actually both men and women can succeed in their personal and professional life. That's what I feel in my startup, and that's how I think I'm evolving towards my career.
Thanks, Marie. I guess you two should talk afterward. So maybe just bringing this to Charlotte and really around the point you mentioned related to support. So there are, at least from our conversation earlier, before this panel, by the way, we're talking about women at times, and of course everybody, but do you feel that women at times, especially at the start of their career, but also as they progress, they need special kind of support? At Belfast, you've been in a program that actually look at identifying the gaps, the skill gaps, but also give mentorship or support, which eventually help you to arrive where you arrive today yourself. To tell us a little bit more about the experience and how do you deal with the next generation for you to ensure that kind of have the same opportunity?
Yeah, indeed. So I participated in the program that we call Young Professional Program at Belfius. So basically, it's a traineeship where we hire graduates that have the potential at the medium term to get a manager function. I think you are all very aware of that kind of program. And why did Belfius do that? It was based on two challenges that were faced by Belfius, but other companies as well. The first one is the fact that it's difficult to acquire young talent, and that we are facing an aging pyramid in pyramid of age that is inverted. So we have a lot of people leaving and retiring, and so we need to compensate for that and finding young talent. The second challenge is the fact that we had, and we still have, but it's improving, a too small proportion of female in leadership positions. And so based on those two challenges, it was clear for Belfius that we needed to do something, and that's why this program was started. But I think the important thing is that kind of program also appeals to young people. That was the case for me. In fact, I joined Belfius for that program because I really wanted to get a taste of different fields. So you have 4 missions. You can go within the banking and insurance aspects, and so you really learn what you like, what you don't like as well, and at the same time you create a network within the whole company. So that was really a good experience for me. But so I would recommend it to any company, but I think that's not the only thing. It's not only launching a program that will solve everything. I think that we really need to put in place mentoring possibilities. I had the chance to have that, and it really helped me, because as a talent, when you grow and you get opportunities, you also have doubts. And in those moments of doubts, you need to have someone you can turn to. And a mentoring solution would, according to me, be very fruitful for female and men talents to move forward in their career. And the second thing is, for me, really important, is the fact that we should, as manager, so I'm a new manager and I still need to learn a lot about it, we should, according to me, really plan in career discussions with the talents we identify within our teams. Because, for example, I had no idea I could get the position I have today, and I also try to do that with my team. When I identify a talent, I want to talk with her or him about the opportunity and the talent I see in him, and perhaps we can, if that's the choice of the person, let them grow thanks to that career path. So in a nutshell, I would say that traineeships seem very beneficial, according to me, but we should complement them with mentoring opportunities, and at the same time, every manager should look out for talents within their team and organize proactively career path discussions together. Thanks
for that. I guess that resonates very well, and a good segue to again ask Rebecca around what she's done actually at Mersch. You've put a young shadow board to actually support the future leader at the company. So just share a little bit with us more about that and what is the experience thus far?
Yeah. So first of all, fully align with what you say. And we also have a graduate program, so that is for the really young ones. They have a rotation for 2 years. And then obviously you also have young colleagues after the graduate program, but not yet named managers. So each year we also have our talent assessment exercise, and I wanted to work with those talents. And as I explained before, we are going as a company through transition too. And myself, for instance, I have had the luck to be able, and I had mentors, and I actually was prepared for this job, so I understand the need and the importance of guidance and such a program. And to be able, as a young talent, to work with senior leadership, to be put into specific projects, to be able to speak up, to be able to contribute to decisions, I think that gives great opportunity. It is also an initiative I took to get them really on board, to, I would say, increase engagement. We spoke about inclusion. It actually is, I think it's a very satisfying initiative in terms of inclusion. And I'm very happy, by the way, that some of them are here today, and I hope also behind the screen. And actually for us as senior leaders, so how does it work? They actually get the same topics that my exco is getting. And no longer than yesterday, I was discussing with Annick on one of the topics, the outcome of the Young Professionals Board and the outcome of my own exco. And it can be confronting sometimes, because indeed they do speak up, they give their honest opinion, they challenge you, and that is exactly what we need in this VUCA world, I would say. So actually it was stating the obvious. We need to do some things differently. And we are now, I think, more than a year doing this. We have decided on the governance together because it was a new initiative. It was a bit of trial and error in the beginning. We needed to find each other. It's very collaborative, and the way you see how they actually have an impact, and the way how actually we define the leaders of tomorrow within that group, and that is for us very reassuring to see, because we are making indeed the right assessments in terms of talent, and I would say the entire company is benefiting from it, and that is what actually makes it very valuable, despite being sometimes very confronting for us, the more senior generation.
But I guess that's, as you say, also creates that learning opportunity and even opportunity to change and understand the market, right? Great. So maybe I'll just come back to you, Charlotte, and as well, Marie, on a few of the things that just you've mentioned. And it's really more about, so to one side is, this is what we're doing inside the company to promote existing talent. But also earlier, I think Nicolas mentioned, we need to promote the financial sector a bit more, because there is that image of, for outsiders, especially young generations, that maybe finance is not so cool. We can perceive a better image, especially around what's happening. So my question would be, for you, if you are to speak to the younger generation right now, especially women, but really everybody, what is it your message to them to actually think about as they want to have them embark more into this journey in finance?
So maybe actually Charlotte and I graduated the same year from Sauvé, so it was also the same kind of reflection at the time. I would say we both chose to join financial sectors, or at least the tradition path. But at the time, maybe the perception of the sector was indeed to be a bit more traditional, and also the image was probably further damaged by the crisis of 2008, which was quite close for us when we graduated. I think now there is actually a great opportunity for the sector in front of us, and two topics which we saw, and actually we had the same in mind, so it means we are also very much aligned on that. I think this one, digitalization, the sector will change and will dramatically change in the coming years, and that's a fantastic opportunity for young people like us. And sustainability is another one. I see it also in the startup world. For example, we are pushing new products. We have loans which are bonified based on ESG criteria. Things are moving, and for sure it will be a game changer for the new generation, which I think we believe in.
Indeed, I'm fully aligned. I think what is important for the new generation is really to have an impact. That's what is important for us as well, for my friends, when we talk about it. And I feel like in the financial sector, we can have a huge impact. Why? There is really a transformation going on in our products. For example, green bonds, funds, as you said. At Belfius, we also develop funds of the future with really topics that are close to our clients' hearts. So there is a real transformation going on, and I feel like the younger generation needs to know that they can play a key role in that transformation. Because if you think about it, everyone has a banking or an insurance product. So if you work to transform and to make our products more meaningful, in the end you impact the whole society. So I feel the impact is huge, and we just need to tell it to the younger population, younger people, so that they join us and get some impact done, because there is indeed some work to be done.
Absolutely, there's a lot of work to be done, and impact is the word those days. So maybe just moving to Katrina, and given what we've just heard from all the other panelists, but also anchoring on the beginning what Rebecca mentioned, just wondering, you've again taken the road to have actually a distinguished product specifically targeting women, led by women. So for how long do you think we should continue that distinction between hiring and making products that is specifically targeted to a particular gender? So how long do you think this would need to continue for? And what is needed to actually change that eventually whatever we do, whether the hiring as well as the products could be just as open to everybody, regardless of making these distinctions?
Probably as long as the world is not perfect. I think really what we did, we made a statement. Our fund is Women for Women, and we really have so many questions about the name. Yes, we decided to go with this name. We decided to go with 12 portfolio managers, female portfolio managers. And you know what? No one knew that we have so many. I mean, we are still only 20%, but no one knew us. We were invisible. How comes? And I think this is really the thing. We have to bring our forces together. We have to come up with something like this. We have to stand up and show other women, young girls, that this is a wake-up call. We have to do something all together, just to get to the balance or closer to the balance. And I still think this is an evolution. We were talking with Rebecca about this before. This is not a revolution by no means. We need all. We need all women. We need all men, because this is an evolution of our society. And sometimes we have to stand up. But think about this, like 100 years ago, women were not allowed to elect, or maybe in Germany, even women had to ask a man for allowance to work. And you know what? People went on streets to go against it. And I think it's our duty to do it further, just to make the change. And this is what we are just showing. We are 12 portfolio managers, young and old, starting from 25 to 52. And I had to tell you, the last year where we were forming this fund, it was also very challenging for me, because the younger ones, they were challenging us quite a lot, because they think differently. They have different opinions, and they're loud. And only together we were able to empower ourselves, each other, and to bring something like this. And we feel much, much better. We feel much, much stronger. And I think we are role models for all of us, because the inclusion, what we were talking about today, you're listening, it's just really such a powerful thing. So it's an evolution, absolutely. And I see already times is up.
but I don't know if we have at all any question to be taken.
Chat.
Okay.
Hello. Yes, I couldn't resist for this one and ask a question of my own. Thank you. So my question would be, like, how can we make visible and real practical changes in the culture, in corporate culture, so that young people feel more not only attracted but also included in the sector? The first thing that comes to my mind personally is, for example, the dress code, which is rather formal. And I think not only the dress code, but also, for example, the use of piercings and tattoos, which, for the younger generation, these are getting more and more accepted and more normalized as, let's say, jewels. What's your vision on that? Because I believe that, to refer back to what Katrien said in the other panel, that your personal style is also a part of who you are, actually. So how would you, include that?
I can start removing my jacket.
I would say, as long as you come to work washed up, I would be fine. No, actually, it's a good question, and I didn't even think about it because, again, and with COVID, I think, because actually I'm the CEO of COVID. I became CEO before the second lockdown, so it's actually my second event in person, and I did almost everything behind the screen, so that's maybe the reason why I didn't think about that earlier. But when you say formal, I think it is already less formal than it was in the past. And I remember one of the first interviews I gave in October 2020, and it was a headliner in Trends, I believe. We must make insurance more sexy. Coming from a woman, they would have imagined I would go into miniskirts into the office, but no, I do not. But it is all around that. It is no longer about that formality. And when I see, again, we are transitioning too. Our business is changing too. And we need to think about that more than we need to think about the other things. When I see where we come from already and the way we change on a daily basis when we engage with clients, that doesn't matter. It's about, for us, it's about their risk. We need to manage their risk. We need to mitigate their risk. We need to help in mitigate their risk. And if the best in front advisor has a piercing, well, so he has, or she has. I actually don't care.
Thank you.
Big applause to this final panel of today. Okay.
Let me just thank everybody, and thanks for having me.
Okay. And again, a big applause. Thank you. So, my dear audience, we are already in the concluding part of our Women in Finance International Conference. What a lineup. We had some amazing speakers with their own unique voices on the different topics that were presented here today. So my 3 key takeaways of today are: do not just copy, but smart copy from the front runners. Look across borders for this, but also in your sector, but outside the sector as well. Look at actions of your neighbors that they are taking and adapt them to your own organization. Second one is men are key. Yes, at home and also in the office. We need to make sure, thank you. So we need to make sure that they don't fall into their own stereotypes, that they can work from home as well and take care of the family. But also in the office, they are the ones that are at the decision table right now. So we saw it from the survey, it is really important that they have the voice for us as well. And then third, the next generation. We are defining the path today that they will take tomorrow. So let's try to decrease these blocking factors for them to make a career. And especially, let's not forget the girls from different cultural backgrounds, because many of them are graduating right now in law and economics as well. However, they are not fully presented in our organizations today. So there's still a lot of untapped potential that we need to tap in starting today. Claire, I invite you to stage.
Wow. Okay, that's it, actually. So, we need to work on leadership. We need to keep working on culture, and totally agree with your three takeaways. I have lots of thanks to do, and I didn't make any cards, so I just don't want to forget anyone. But we had like 24 speakers today. Amazing 24 speakers, lots of them who came from abroad. A warm thank you to all of them. I want also to give a warm thank you to our 4 panel moderators. So we had indeed Mohammed, we had Dana, we had Dirk, and of course we had Marie-Elisabeth, who I will also need to thank a bit later again. So thanks for that. You've seen a guy with an incredible mustache running here, running there, doing everything. Pierre, this was really great. We had a chat moderator who had really a hard time due to a few technical issues, but who managed to do it the best way possible. And we had all the volunteers who, what you don't know, also came yesterday to be in the room, to understand how things would work, to welcome you this morning with the badges. We had also, certainly not to forget, our timekeeper. Yes, time is up. She's right. Time is up.